As most people know, if you hold down Shift right mouse button, you get the Polygon Create menu, which is really great if you're a demo artist and creating, cubes and toruses and things like that to demo in Maya. But if you're not a modeler that likes to work with primitives, or you're not a demo artist, it's kind of useless. But I love having that easy access. It's just having another place to get quick access to tools. Maybe I'll create a cube a lot, and the main reason for that is because when you smooth a cube, you get a nice sphere out of it, which is a lot better than if you take a regular sphere and say drop down the number of points, because then you get something that's not a sphere anymore. You've probably seen a lot of people saying how to create a perfect sphere by using a cube and then going from that. So anyway, it's been bothering me that this is here and I never use it because I have no use for it. Maybe quad draw, but if I am, if I already have a cube selected or a mesh selected, I can get quad draw already by still holding shift and going to the quad draw tool, So I was like, you know what? There's got to be a way to get into that thing and change it. Now, what I could do is go into settings preferences, marking menu editor, and create any old marking menu. Whoops, I got to create a marking menu, not edit one. And, put stuff on there, blah, blah, blah. Close it. And you can use a hotkey on it. It says it'll now show up in there. As you can see, I have never done this before because I guess I never really thought about it. But let's see what it gives me. That's taking a long time to open. There we go. Cool. So if you're in the other items and you scroll to the very bottom, there's user marking menus. You can open that up. You can open that up and find, press and release. So, I'm not really sure how that will work because I'm not going to be using shift because it needs a hotkey, I just realized. And shift right mouse button isn't going to work either. So you know what? I'm not going to use that. Glad I looked that up to know that I didn't want it. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is make this a little bit more useful. And I thought what I would do is show how to do that by, how to track down what scripts are and why you would do this and I guess whatever. This is something that comes up all the time. It's like, how do I make a marking for this? Or how do I make a tool for that? Or how do I know what a script is doing? That's sort of what this is about, but it's also about editing that marking menu. So anyway, if you go and show your timeline, if you aren't already, timeline, there we go. And no, sorry, command line, which normally I do show, but I was demoing this small. So anyway, I'll click on my script editor, which always has too much stuff in it. And I'm just going to get a Mel tab because this is going to report back in Mel. And if I hold down shift and do that, I don't see anything. But if I right click in here and go to history, echo all commands, I can now run that command. It'll give me something, right? So what I'm looking for in this particular instance is this guy right here, which is context tools MM for marking menu. So I'm going to grab that thing and open that up. And just so I don't get tons of history, I'm going to turn this off. And what I want to do is take a look at what that command is. So if I do a what is on it, I get this. There's a procedure called context tools MM. That makes sense, right? So what I'm going to do is just copy that and open it up in anything. So by default, I open up Mel in a editor called Context, which is pretty old, but actually it's super simple, and I like it for its simplicity. It has a Mel syntax highlighter, so I can just easily go in there. So what I'm going to do is find, let's see what it was called. I'm going to look for something that was in there. So I forget how I found this. Oh, there it is. Cool. So there's not much to this thing. You don't really know what's going on here, but if I scroll down, I can see this little comment that somebody put in there once upon a time, which is great. Either nothing is selected or something is selected that doesn't have a specific poly or NURBS menu. So the thing to know about these things is they are context sensitive. So if I have a mesh selected and I hold shift right mouse button, I get tools that work on the mesh. If I have a, let's see, a NURB sphere selected, and I do that, I get nothing because it doesn't understand what NURB spheres are. But if I do, say, a curve, it should work, right? Yeah, I'll get a context-sensitive menu. So context just means what do I have selected? All right, so I have those things. Cool. So I'm going to go jump back to that that menu, or that editor, and basically what I'm looking at is that, okay, so look, so check this out. So cool. Do you have a polygon selected? Do this. Do you have a NURB selected? Do this, right? And if I jump down here, it says context poly tools default middle menu. So let's select that. I'm going to copy that, bring it in here, and I'll do a what is on that. Let's do it better by spelling it right. There we go. Cool. So now I get this thing. I'm going to copy that. Windows E, drop it in, and let's see what I get. And what's really cool about this is I kind of struck gold right away, and that it's basically the procedure that figures out what goes into this menu. So if I look at this script here, the very top thing is poly, let's see, command set tool to poly create facet context. So that's actually what this tool is, right? If I go to a little bit lower, I have set tool to poly create. Okay, so the first one is the actual command. The second thing you're seeing is actually the tool property window, right? So that's that guy you get when you open up your tools window. And so I can keep going down and find all these different things. So here's create polycube options, create cone options. I mean, cones, whoever creates a cone, it's like the worst piece of geometry you can ever start with, unless you want it for a really specific reason. I'll never use a cube. All right, but things that I do use, right? So I definitely use create joints. I definitely use create curves, right? So I'm going to throw those two in there. So the first thing I want to do is not save this in the default area. So the default area is Autodesk Maya 2020 scripts, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to write that over. I want to leave that guy alone. And what's kind of nice is if I file save as this, and I'm going to jump into Maya 2020 prefs scripts, I'm going to save it there. I don't need this whole path. There we go. Just context tools, blah, 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 default menu. I don't want to change the name because what's going to happen is I want Maya, when it starts up, to read that. And the way that the Maya does this, it first reads everything from the base level and then works its way up and hits your user prefs and says, oh, what's in your user prefs? Then it sources those and reads those in. So I'm going to close this, go back to my documents, Maya 2020 prefs, scripts. There we go. I didn't want you to see everything I had. That's why I put it on the side. All right, and in there I have this context poly tools default middle mouse button, marking menu. Sorry, not middle mouse button. Anyway, so let's change a couple things here. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at it and say, okay, a disk. It's cool, but it's so rare that I'll ever need this. Let me undo that. Oh, wait, you can't undo a disk. So let's go new scene. All right, so let's get rid of disk. Now let's find that. I'm just going to go up here and do disk, right? Cool. There it is, create polygon disk. Now, what tells Maya where to put that menu, if it's going to be in the lower part of the menu or in what we call the radial positions up here, is just a flag. So if I go down here, you can see polydisk is in the radial position of northeast. If I just comment that out, and in Mel, the comment is // or no, sorry, // I'll just save that. And what I'm going to do is drag and drop that script in here to source it real quick. And you see now that that's gone, right? But check it out. It's at the top of my list now, which is actually kind of cool. So that means I didn't lose it. It just got moved over here. So let's change that to, say, create a CV curve, right? So the easiest way to get that command, I'm going to go to my shelf here. I'll leave up this shelf. That's fine. I'll do create curve tools, CV curve tool. And before I run it, what I'm going to do is hold down Shift and Control. And that's going to drop that command up here for me. So if I edit that, I now get what that command is. So I'm going to grab that CV curve tool, Control C, go back to my script here, and I'm going to copy one of these guys and redo it. So it doesn't matter where I put it in here because I'm going to use the radial method, but what I am going to do is, yeah, let's keep it in the same exact spot. I could do anything I want, but whatever. I'm just going to put something in there so I know that I've edited this and I know what that is. I'm going to drop the command there temporarily. I'll grab this chunk of code here, drop it in, and what I'm going to do is take the CV curve tool part, and where it says command, I'm going to replace that. And then you also have the image that you can use. So what I'm going to do is go to shelves, and in here it's going to tell me what that shelf name is, or that icon name is. So I'll grab that, and I'll replace that here. And then you actually have this thing called version, and I don't know if you know, when you open up Maya and it says, you know, highlight things that are new, get rid of this window. Most people just get rid of the window and also turn off highlighting. I personally like the highlighting because then I can use it to my advantage. So what I'm going to do is change that, and this is what tells that how to highlight things. So I'm going to change that to 2020, and I'm going to unhide the northeast here and hit that button. And I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop that into my Maya scene again. I can save this, doesn't really matter. And now you can see I have my curve tool there, although it still said disk. And I bet if I go to the option box, I'm going to Polygon disk options. So I don't want the either. So let's fix that as well. So if I go back to this menu, create curves, where'd it go? I'm going to hold down Shift and Control, drop that up there. Now this one's going to be for my options. So I'm going to edit that. Let's grab it and go back to our script. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. So let's see here. What I do want to do is change the label. I'm not going to worry about what Maya is doing here. I'm just going to replace this with create CV curve tool. I could be less verbose, but that's fine. I'm going to put the options right there, and I'm going to do the same thing to this guy. So this is those options that we had before. I'm going to take that and copy that. And actually, I'll put it above so that my edit's all in the same place. And then I'll just edit this one down here. But again, I want to comment out that radial position and put in my options here. I don't even think I need any of this, but just in case, I'll say curve options, and actually I'll call it CV curve in case I want to add another one there. All looks good. Let's give it another test. Drop that in. Oh. File new. And I do have an error. Cannot find procedure. Oh, I must have had an error on it. Let's see. 102.28. What did I do? Oh, I think I forgot to, I accidentally have two parens in there. Let's get rid of that. Okay, good. Didn't give me an error. So now I have my create CV curve tool there, and I have the options to bring it up, and it's bright green so that I know something happened. I did something, right? So let's get rid of that. Other things I like to use, you know, as a rigging artist, I'm always using circles. So give me that. Oops. And also give me the options. Create joint is a big one. And also, of course, the create joint. Pay attention. Okay, good. There we go. Create joint options. And just to make sure that that disk is still there, which it is, and also that it still has its options, which it does. Cool. Oops. File new scene. Cool. So let me take all these guys. So I'll take this one. Oh, look at that. It's a full-on command. And what do we want to replace? What I'll probably do is move sphere over here and torus. I don't know yet. It's a good question. So, but yeah, sphere I'm going to move. So let's find that sphere, which should be east. Here it is. So I'm going to take all of this, copy it, paste it, and again, I'm going to put in some sort of comments so I know that I did something here, right? So that's no longer going to be east, and that's no longer going to be east. So I'll go back here and I'll grab my full-on command. And the nice thing about Mel is you could just drop it in. You don't really even have to know exactly what it's doing, but you can steal it pretty quickly from the script editor. So NURBS circle and change out the command. I'm literally just going to paste it all in there. I'm going to make sure there's no quotes in there, which there weren't. Otherwise, I'd have to go in and comment those out. I'm going to change the icon, which is circle PNG. And often when I'm doing this stuff, I like to use the icons that Maya already has. That way, if I'm sending it to everybody else, I can just send the script. I don't have to send, the extra icon as well. It sort of drives me crazy that, if I get something and it doesn't have the right icon, and it's just annoying. So I like to make things simple. I'll just use what's already given to me. Let me make sure I don't double paren this again. Circle. Hey, who can't spell? There we go. All right, cool. And I'm going to test that real quick. See if I got any errors. Cool, no errors. And cool, I can make a circle. I can get circle options. Cool. And just so we can make sure, what was the sphere has now showed up here. But like I said, I'm going to move it over where the cone is. So you kind of want to make sure you don't screw things up too much, but that's also why we saved it to our local drive, right? So if I go back up to this polysphere and I want to put it into the southwest, I can just go in here, unhide the radial position, put southwest in there, and for the options, put southwest in there. Whoops, make sure you capitalize it. And you can do menu items with Python as well. It's just the default one in Maya is run that way. So let's find Polygon cone. I'll just go to the top, do a quick search for cone, Polygon, and just save it, drag it in, check for errors. No errors, cool. New scene, just to clean things up. Cool, I can create a sphere now over there. I can make a circle, and I can create a curve. You notice that this is the difference between if it's highlighted or not highlighted. And then the last thing I want to do is I think I want to add in joint. So torus is pretty cool, but I do use cylinders and planes more often. So I'm going to let torus drop out on me. So let's grab this. Joint tool, that's easy enough to remember. Let's go back here. Let's find torus. There's our torus. Cool. So I'm just going to actually take this whole thing, southeast, and duplicate it. And in the extra, just going to go, whoops, that's south. There we go. And in this one, I'm going to change this to joint. And since I'm lazy, I'm going to go back here and copy that. And put that there. And then copy this. And put that here. Options. Create joint tool. Yep. And I want the icon. Kin joint. No options for that. All right, whatever. That's fine. Check for errors. Oh, we got an error. Cool. I messed up my label somehow, 144. Again, that double paren on me. I wonder if that'll... Oh, okay. Looks like it worked. Oh, I screwed something up. Flags must be before objects. This is why you shouldn't work quite so fast when you do this stuff. You should pay more attention. 181. All right, so that means somewhere in there I screwed something up. Label, blah, 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 command, blah, 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 join options, join options, da, da, da. Blah, da, 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 da. Polytorus. Just so I know what I'm looking at here. That should be okay. Interesting. Let me drop down to 181, make sure I didn't accidentally type something in there. Create polygon cube, no, that's fine. Aha, so see above here, I actually dropped the semicolon. In Mel, the semicolon's super important. Line spacing and line breaks don't matter in Mel. So you can have things all over again. In Python, it does matter. Actually, in Python, you can also have semicolons, but for Maya, semicolons always like, this is the end of the line. So technically, I could go in here and put this all in one big line like this. Well, not with the comment out. Or I could have, multiple spaces or even different indentations. Indentations don't even matter in Mel, which is why Mel often looks very sloppy. It's just because of how people wrote it. If you write it very cleanly, it'll look clean. If you write it sloppy, it'll look sloppy. All right, so let's try that and drop it in and see what we get. Cool, so now I got them. And you'll notice that disk, torus, and cone are still around. They've just been dropped into the lower part of the menu here, and my sphere is now over here. So what's cool about that is now I can create my curves, I can create my circles, and I can create my joints, which is something I do way more often than create toruses, cones, or disks. Yeah, I do want to make these green as well, even though it's pretty obvious that they're not the originals. And again, I'll just go back in and I can add that version flag. So if I go up here to my NURB circle, or which one was it? Curve tool. There we go. Come on. There it is, version. So I can drop down here to my, let's wear a circle. And that flag can be anywhere in there. It doesn't really matter. And joint. And key that, or save it, not key. And let's drag that in. New scene. Oops. There we go. And yeah, now they're all green for me. I still have options. Now the last thing I'm going to do is just kind of clean this up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is put a divider like this at the very top above platonic solid so I can have the differences there. So I'll go back to that script. Let's find platonic. Cool. So right here, I just want to put a divider in. And the dividers are literally just a menu item with a flag for a divider. So if I scroll down here, I can probably find one. I'll do a search for divider. There we go. Looks like that. So if I go back to the top and do platonic, again, right above that, I'm going to put in a divider. Let's drag that in. I think I saved it. Yep. So now I have a divider between there, and it all looks very clean. If at any point I screw this up and I can't get it back, I don't know what I did. I look at the errors. I can't find it. Just remember that you did save it to your local documents. So let me pull this off for a second. Maya 2020 refs scripts. There we go. Cool. You can always take that, there's the script. You can always delete it or rename it. It won't get sourced the next time you open Maya. You don't have to worry about it. Incidentally, when I'm looking at my scripts that I add to Maya, you can put them in scripts and you can put them in prefs scripts. Oops, sorry, prefs scripts. You could also put them in Maya scripts. Those three places do get sourced. What I try to do, and I'm not always completely diligent with this, but anything that's sort of like an override of the original, I'm going to put it in prefs scripts. Anything that's sort of like an addition specific to that version of Maya, I'm going to put it in the date and then scripts. Granted, these three should be in the other. And then anything that's like an addition that can work for anything, I'll put it in Maya scripts. I'm not going to open it up because I don't want you to see my directory. I hope that makes sense. So now I've made that shift marking menu for blank a little bit more usable. Granted, a little bit longer. If I really knew I never needed these things, and I'll just do that real quick. Let's say I never want any of this stuff. Soccer ball is kind of cool. Gear is kind of cool. Helix is kind of cool. But again, I'm not a demo jockey. I'm not going to be bringing those things in to show them. I'm not going to be working and suddenly be like, I need a gear. So let's go here and see what we can do here. So it's what? It's platonic solid all the way down to, let's say, ultra shape. Although type, okay, let's just go to ultra shape. Sure. So platonic solid. One of the things I can do, and this is kind of nice thing you can do in Mel, is I do a /*. Everything after that's going to be commented out until I tell it not to be. So let me just look at this again. Let's find type. Oh, that's going to be all over the place. So instead of that, let's find ultra shape. So that ultra has got to be pretty unique. There we go, ultra shape. The next one should be type. So if I go here now and do a */ again, it's just going to comment out everything in between that /* and that */. So let's make sure that worked. I'm going to drag it in, check for errors. So far, so good. And you see now I have a much shorter directory with just menu with just those items that I want, and I'm getting it through Shift right mouse button, which is something I can't normally access through the regular Maya tools. And I have the things that I want. So yeah, I think that's gonna be everything I can think of for now on this. So I hope that helps, and see you next time.